Welcome to the Bothell City Council regular meeting of Tuesday, January 16th, 2018. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All council members are here except Councilmember McAuliffe, who's absent and excused. The meeting agenda approval, I have a couple of items. We need to add an executive session for potential litigation pursuant to RCW 43-30-110-1I. That'll be anticipated to last about 45 minutes, and I was thinking that we would, because we do have a contract attorney here, so we want to see that sooner than later. So if everybody's okay, how about we have that before the special presentation, or do you want to wait till after visitor comments? Does anybody have an opinion? It's only like $500 an hour. Just kidding, I don't know what it is. Nobody cares. Okay, earlier the better. So let's go ahead and do that after. I only have one, just because we have visitors here. Let's. I have 3 visitor comments, so is there anybody else that hasn't turned one of these in and would like to speak to the council? So we'll do it after visitor comment. Is that okay with everybody? Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the other one, so this was an accident, but we didn't include an executive session for a performance evaluation pursuant to RCW 42-30-110-1G. I've prepared for it. It's the city manager's annual performance evaluation, and there will be another opportunity for the public to give public comment on this. That will have her contract amendment essentially come back to council. So it was not in the advertised agenda, but I would like to do it today just because I did take quite a few hours this weekend to try to prepare so I can work with you guys on it in executive session. So if that's okay with everybody, we add it tonight. Okay, so we'll add that to the end of our meeting. I believe, right? Yeah, we'll add it to the end of the meeting. All right, is there any other changes to tonight's agenda? Seeing none. We have the review of the projected agenda. Is there any changes to the projected agenda? These guys are easy. Okay, review of public engagement. So help us name our newest park. We're taking submissions to rename the Wayne Golf Course now through February 28th. Please visit the city's website for more information. Visit City Hall February 5th through April 20th to view award-winning illustrator and Bothell resident Dennis Wunsch's work as we kick off the Bothell Arts and Festivals Commission's first annual City Hall Gallery exhibition. We have a free workshop, learn how to reduce your personal waste from Waste Zero expert Shimon McComb, Saturday, January 20th from 6 to 7 p.m., Kenyon Park Recology Store at 22833 Bothell Everett Highway number unit 111. And last is the open house. King County and 37 cities within the county are developing a plan for how to manage solid waste in the future. The King County Solid Waste Division will host an open house on Wednesday, January 24th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Kingsgate Library at 12315 Northeast 143rd Street in Kirkland. And we have one more.
We have one to add. On January 28th, there's a council conversation with myself and I'm not sure who else yet, but at 2 p.m. at the Bothell Library.
Okay, and then we have a special presentation from the Snohomish County Opioid Response Multi-Agency Coordination Group.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, everyone. Thanks for having us. My name is Jason Bierman. I'm the Director of Emergency Management for Snohomish County's Department of Emergency Management. And with me is Alessandra Durham from our Executive's Office. Just briefly tonight, we're going to go over the way the county is responding to the opioid epidemic. I'm going to cover some of the structural aspects and the way we're looking at the response. Oh, that's automatic. And the way we're looking at the response from the emergency management perspective. And then Alessandra will talk about some of the successes and things that we're doing. So our response to the epidemic and our involvement as an emergency management organization started a couple of months ago. Epidemics are one of the things that we plan for in our response planning for all disasters. That's one of the ones that we look at. And an epidemic similar to H1N1, which we faced a number of years ago, is a very complex incident. It involves a lot of different agencies. There are a lot of different facets to it. So thinking back to H1N1 in 2009, at least within the county, we did a joint EOC activation with the city of Everett in response to H1N1. And that led to us overseeing and managing a number of clinics where people received vaccinations. And ultimately, that entire incident caused 9 deaths. But we did a lot of effort. We went through a lot of effort to, I'm not sure why this is doing that automatically. We went to a lot of effort and brought a lot of people together to work together to try and mitigate that incident. All of the work we're doing now falls within our comprehensive emergency management plan. Like I mentioned, we plan for, among other things, epidemics. And that CEMP is mandated by state law. It's mandated for every jurisdiction within the state. And it's the framework we use to structure all of the responses to our disasters. One of the things about it that you'll note on the presentation, the way we structure the plan is into what we call emergency support functions. Those are functional areas. And each one of them, there are 15, each one of them has a lead agency, a coordinating agency that is responsible for overseeing agencies within that function. Partner agencies that work with it, be it governmental agencies, nonprofit, private partners. If they fall within that function, we assign them roles and responsibilities, and there's a coordinating agency that works with them when we activate the plan. And that's how this looks like within a functional, or from a functional perspective. So we have a coordinating agency that works with all those partners. And some of the examples would be there's a public works function. There's a public health function. So for instance, in our public health function, the Snohomish Health District is the coordinating agency. They would work with local clinics, hospitals, private providers. They coordinate all the efforts within that function and what it does. On a higher level, all of that comes together within what we call a multi-agency coordinating group within our emergency coordination center. And that's what the graphic you see in front of you is. We bring all those partners together. This is something we're used to doing. We do it for floods. We did it for the SR 530 response. We've done it on average 1 to 2 times per year. And there are support mechanisms that go around it that deal with some of the processes as far as developing situational awareness and creating situation reports that we can share. In this particular instance, with this activation, we have a few of the partners, not all of the ones who are activated. You can see some of them in front of you. So our Public Works Solid Waste Division, we have representation from the Snohomish County Fire Chiefs Association, of course, our department, our Human Services Department, the Executives Department. The Health District is involved. Within ESF 10, which is our hazardous materials, we have talked to the county's drug task force because they're dealing day to day with the actual solid waste and the hazardous materials generated by this. The Sheriff's Office, of course, plays a large part in both the law enforcement piece, and they are also leading what we call ESF 15, which is our public information and external affairs. Lots of other agencies fall within that. Those are the coordinating agencies. We have lots of other partners, and we're looking for other partners who want to either establish their own structure and work closely with us or work within those functional areas. And when we do that, when we bring all this together, as we do with every disaster response, we start with working from goals and objectives. And that's really the power of this collaboration is we have these agency representatives in our emergency coordination center every week. We sit down and we established early on these 7 goals, a large number of objectives that fall within each of them. And we talk through this every week to see what progress is being made, what challenges are still facing us to reach those objectives, and how we can partner together. The timeline right now, I've been directed by the executive to activate our emergency coordination center and the plan at least through the first quarter of 2018. This started back in November, and like I mentioned, we're meeting weekly. So we have these agency representatives in our shop every week to talk through this, and every Wednesday we share the outcomes of the information that we glean from those meetings that happen on Mondays. So I'm going to turn it over to Alessandra to talk about why we're doing it this way and the effects of the epidemic in general.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. And so as Jason mentioned, the why behind this, first and foremost, I think, is the cost of lives of the members of our community. So in Washington State, 14.5% of all opioid-related deaths and 16.7% of all heroin-related deaths, at Snohomish County, occurred within Snohomish County. So we're seeing a disproportionate number of deaths compared to our counterparts in the state. 1 week alone, we did a snapshot to see what that looked like in the context of Snohomish County, and 37 opioid overdoses were reported, including 3 fatalities. The second aspect of this is the cost to local governments is in the millions of dollars each year, and that cost is associated with everything from impacts of untreated addiction, so that's crime, homelessness, emergency room visits, cost of private or public providers. Also, a huge cost of this is treating opioid withdrawal in the jails and at our local hospitals. In Snohomish County, our jail is what's deemed to be the largest detox facility in our county, which is not the intended purpose of that facility. And then also another thing that we hear from regularly from the people that we serve is nuisance properties and the collateral damage that's being caused in the communities in which we live and serve. And then also breaking down silos. So as Jason mentioned, this is a collaborative effort. We meet weekly with our fellow partners, whether it's jurisdictions or other agencies, to figure out where we can partner to do things more efficiently, or where we can be of assistance when our partners don't have the full amount of resources needed. This process has also increased efficiencies, so things that we thought were far, far off in the future we're able to do a lot sooner than we had predicted, and I'll get into one of those successes shortly. Another component is the common messaging and educational opportunities in our community. And so I think there's just a lot of misinformation, or was a lot of misinformation circulating in our community. And we were consistently hearing from constituents about asking questions about what's going on, what's the impact, why does this look the way that it does? And so by having that joint information center and system, we're able to provide consistent messaging that's accurate and timely. And then tying all of this together is really creating that heightened awareness of what's going on in our community and really across our region. And so for the sake of time, I'm going to skip through a couple of these, but you can see pictures in terms of what the encampments look like, and our Office of Neighborhoods team that goes out and works with people regularly on the streets. And we've had a lot of success out of there, which ties to the objective that I'm going to discuss with you, which is our diversion center. So under the objective, our goal was to have our diversion center opened by March 31st, 2018. And what a diversion center is it's a space on the Snohomish County campus. It's actually our old work release site that we will retrofit to have space available for 44 beds, in which we can address substance use disorder and opioid-related illnesses. So a scenario of what this will look like is that team that I just talked about, the Office of Neighborhoods. Those are officers and social workers that are partnering together. They go out to encampments or known locations where the opioid epidemic has hit especially hard, or where people are camping or living, and they work extremely hard to get those people into treatment, housing, reconnected with their family, maybe into job services, and turning them back into productive members of society. The difficulty they encounter is the lack of bed space available. So what a diversion center does is it allows them to take those individuals they're interacting with on the street and put them in a space in which they have access to either detox or Suboxone or other medication that is used to assist and provide treatment for substance use disorder. And while they're there, we also look for stable housing, job opportunities, and again, reintegrating them back into society with their families and helping them become productive members of society. And so currently we are working hard on this objective in the legislature. The governor included $500,000 for this program in his supplemental budget, and we've heard a lot of positive feedback from both sides of the aisle in the House and Senate in terms of support and, again, other partners in the region looking at what we're doing and how they can participate as well. And then again, there's just more graphics. So this is within this inside of our jail in Snohomish County. And so rather than treating people in a jail like it's a medical setting, they'll be placed in a facility which is really designed for that. And then again, I want to honor your time. I know you have a full agenda. So I am happy to make the rest of the presentation available to you, or Jason and I are also happy to answer any questions that you have either here or after the meeting as well.
Well, thank you. That's one of our council priorities, is to address not only the opioid epidemic, but other social service needs in the city. So I do appreciate you guys coming down. I've heard this presentation before at the mayor's meeting, so it's good to hear it again. Is there anybody else? Councilman Agnew?
I got a question on your diversion center. What would be the length of stay for a patient there?
Mm-hmm. So we don't have parameters around, you know, you can only stay for 7 days or what have you. It'll be a safe, clean facility that they can receive treatment on until a long-term bed becomes available, or that person is stable in their recovery and can be reintegrated with family or society. Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Zorns? Oh, okay. Deputy Mayor?
So the 500,000 in the governor's budget, I assume that doesn't nearly cover the costs. So how is the rest of the funding arranged?
Through local match, so funds like chemical dependency, mental health sales tax, and also county dollars.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm,
Appreciate your work.
Thank you for having us.
Sorry for rushing you guys. Appreciate you coming down.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. All right, next is the visitor comment section. Each person addressing the council will give his or her name in an audible tone of voice for the record, and unless council grants further time, shall limit the address to 3 minutes. No person other than the council and the person having the floor will be permitted to enter into any discussion, either directly or through a member of the council, without the permission of the mayor. And the first one I have is Kristen Joyner.
Here, right. Good evening, thank you, and welcome new council members. Thank you for your service, for all of you. My name's Kristen Joyner. I'm a over 20-year resident of the city of Bothell. I come here as a deacon of Bothell United Methodist Church and an active member of the Kenmore Bothell Interfaith Group, and I have with me three other people from the Kenmore Bothell Interfaith Group, representing the Emmanuel Presbyterian, the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints Bothell, and North Shore Community Church. We are an active group of about 12 congregations and faith communities in the area. We are here because we want to make known to you our concern for housing the residents of our community. A desire for housing that is accessible, available, and affordable is something that we in the various faith communities have in common. We work together to provide winter shelter, and we thank you for your support on that also. We are also aware of a regional coalition for housing and the city housing strategy. And our work group with the Kenmore Bothell Interfaith Group in Housing strives to stay informed for both cities, Bothell and Kenmore. I listened to your study session from last week, and I know you have a retreat coming up soon. I'm here tonight to encourage you to make affordable housing a priority for this year. If housing is left to the desires of private property owners whose only goal is economic profit, we will never solve the housing problem, and our community fabric will be weak. Until housing is available to those who cannot provide an economic profit, our community is not strong. If our community can provide housing for those of us who live on low incomes, we will all be better off. People on low incomes aren't the other or the strangers, they are us, our family members, our sisters, our brothers, our children, and our parents. They are the employees of the small businesses, schools, medical facilities, and retail establishments that we all enjoy. Creating opportunities for them to live in our community could also improve some of the transportation issues that we have to deal with. Maintaining mobile home parks won't solve the problem alone. I know you can encourage denser, smaller housing, like boarding houses or dormitory-style housing, accessory dwelling units, and have other methods at your disposal, some more passive and some more active than others. My hope is that you will stand firm in making affordable housing a priority. In a few years, I'd like to look back and be proud of the City of Bothell because the council worked with the Planning Commission, faith communities, and other nonprofit agencies to make sure that our city recognizes that the strength of a community is dependent on supporting and encouraging a diverse population that includes residents of all economic levels. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sarah Glidden.
Good evening, and it's really nice to be here with new council members also. I represent tonight the advisory board, the King County Library Advisory Board, and with me is Laura Escanade, who is, I'm sorry, I mispronounced your name.
Laura Escudé.
Escade, who is our president. And we will be back later this year because we want to really talk about some of the wonderful things that happen at the library. Tonight, I wanted to just read you a little statement, though. The section of the King County Library, which is, as you know, it vacillates between being the largest and the second largest circulating library in the United States. Bothell is so exciting. I mean, it is so exciting that Bothell gets to be part of that library. The region that we're in is 4 libraries: Kenmore, Bothell, Kingsgate, and Kirkland. And our region has these little goals for 2018. Library programs and services that aim to facilitate civic engagement, help to meet the needs of individuals and families with low income, and take into consideration the very special needs of persons with disabilities. These goals will not be a part of everything we do in 2018, but they will guide much of what we plan over the next 12 months. And as you also know, the civic engagement with our deputy mayor sitting down at the library on a Sunday afternoon with members of your council and members of the community. It's a wonderful combination. It stands for what we are, which is a conduit between the people of Bothell and the city of Bothell. Do you need to add anything in my 3 minutes?
Just a little bit, welcome all city council members and the new one as well. And then also just being here tonight and listen to 2 opportunities to, as you can see, great partnership to come to the library about housing and also for the opioid epidemic. So just to be here 10 minutes, I see a lot of opportunities that where the library and we, the library advisory members, can help you to connect with them and just to offer a place to all meet there and come out with some good policies and goals. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next is Chris Berry.
Hi guys, welcome new council members, and hello to the old ones again. My name's Chris Berry and I'm here to promote disc golf in the master plan for Wayne. First off, thank you so much for approving the purchase. That's something that's super inspiring and really exciting. And it definitely shows that you are serious about the ability to have stewardship and recreation in the Bothell area. One thing that we want to do to continue encouraging that, though, in the master plan is looking at key elements that are vital to promoting those 2 concepts. And I think disc golf is one of the things that has the answers for that. One of the first key concepts is that you need an activity that is low impact on the environment. The disc golfers in your community would be overjoyed at the prospect of helping planting more trees and helping the native flora return. Our community also consistently rallies to maintain and protect the parks that we already currently play in. And the course can use the natural layout of the land and the smart design elements of out of bounds structures and mandatory directions to steer away from any sensitive areas. The second thing and the second key element that you need is you need recreation that anyone from the age of 3 to 93 years old can play. Disc golf is a sport that's extremely beginner friendly and doesn't require any extreme amount of physical exertion or dynamic body movement to play, people of all ages can enjoy the simple act of throwing a frisbee at a target. The third element is you need a sport that brings families and friends together and doesn't require expensive equipment. When I was in high school, I bought my first disc golf disc. It was the only disc I used for about 3 years. That was 3 years of shanking a piece of plastic into rock and smashing it into metal baskets. And it lasted nearly nearly through that full 3 years. That single disc cost me about $15, and that's considered one of the high-end models. It's very fancy. So it's definitely a very affordable sport. Another key element that you would need for an activity on that land is that it needs to make good business sense. It has to have low startup costs, low maintenance, and low upkeep costs. It's hard to find an activity with startup costs as low as disc golf, and the initial installation of standard 8x4 cement tee pads and galvanized removable baskets will last for decades. The disc golf fairways also require less mowing than standard parks, and with any designated rough areas, you would have next to zero maintenance. You also need a sport that's growing and that the community will support. Disc golf had 4,060 courses in 2013, and in 2017 there are now 7,500. They estimate that 2 to 3 new courses are going in per day. I think you might have found one of the activities that will work well on this land. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to provide public comment? Seeing none, so we will go into executive session for 45 minutes. So we'll return at, let's call it 7:15. We're going into executive session pursuant to RCW 4330-110-1I for potential litigation matters. So we'll be back at 7:15.